Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Okay, so we are now live, and maybe in another 5 minutes we will commence.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening, Prasanjit. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we'll start in 2 minutes, Prasanjit?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, Umesh, you can start.
Right. Okay. So, good evening to all of you. It's my pleasure to have a conversation with you, Ashish sir, on this special day when you have completed 30 years of your professional career. And I am fortunate to know from the college days that I was 2 years junior to you. And for the interest of viewers, I would like to describe Mr. Ashish Gore as I know him. He is a great student and a learner. He was a gold medalist and loved by our teachers and students equally. As his junior, we also anticipated him to join civil services in those days. He has an illustrious career, highly active, multidimensional personality, which you will also discover as we go ahead. In short, I had seen him in a role of quizmaster, an artist, a program anchor, organizer of events. He had been interviewed in Radio China multiple times. He is a good cricketer and a wonderful commentator, an anxious learner and updated with the current affairs. This is a part of being very successful professional and making his mark in the automobile sector. He works in a very senior position in a multinational Bosch and managing significant size of market. His professional journey started with the Indian major L&T, and he was in Shriram Pistons and then moved to the multinational Bosch. He is an avid traveler, visited more than 40 countries, and occasionally he used to pen down his experience in his blogs and Facebook articles. Of late, he has also written a very interesting book comprising of his travel experience that touches variety of cultures, people, and geography. His book, Globetrotting Unplugged, in 2017 was appreciated by many, and he also released 3 linguistic versions of the same book. I think going forward, we will discover what real Ashish Gore is and what made him what he is. So with this, I will ask my opening question to Ashish sir. So Ashish sir, I congratulate you for completing magnificent 30 years of your professional life. Can you please summarize your journey from your early years to the present time? And do you believe in the randomness like the surprises life brings at different time? Or is it like a well thought dream that has taken a shape? Ashish sir.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Umesh. Thanks, first of all, for all the good words and all the things what you spoke about myself. I don't know whether I deserve all those praises, but thanks a lot. It is always good to have some such kind of nice words to start with. Um, this particular occasion, 30 years of corporate experience, we are doing it, and I'm very thankful to you, Umesh, for the first that you accepted this, because a lot of my friends, colleagues, relatives were asking for a one common platform where they can see or discuss about variety of different topics. As you know, we have been doing a lot of webinars on my book, or also on some economic situations, also pandemic situation. But this is the platform which is more for all kinds of audience. And that is why I'm really thankful to you, Umesh, that you accepted to be the host. And I'm
It's my
sure that
pleasure.
the viewers here would like the conversation, as you are a very professional anchor. To come up to your first question, this 30 years, actually, I was pretty nostalgic today, this morning, when this event was planned. And 8th of October 1990, precisely, means 30 years ago, that was my first step into the corporate world. But for those who are aware or might be aware of the situation in India during 1990, in which I got graduated, was very, very turbulent, as it is turbulent today also. People would recall that in 1990, in the period of July, August, we had a lot of agitations, student agitation because of the Mandal Commission. Our exams and all those were also got affected because of that. And lot of turbulence was there, lot of uncertainty was there. And in that uncertainty, it was not clear whether we'll be able to appear in the exam and then what will happen. So from that uncertain background, our exams happened, our result also came almost much in time as compared to what the turbulent background was there in the past. And I also got the job. So this was the most difficult task, because everybody was having a severe apprehension and hesitation that once the exam is over, what will happen. But I was extremely lucky, I would say, that after completing the exam, within 1 week, I was interviewed by Larsen & Toubro, one of the major engineering giant in Mumbai, and I got selected. And after my result, 7 days after I got my final exam result, I was in a completely different unknown state called Gujarat, in which I was posted in Surat. So this is how I was recollecting all those moments of anxieties, and I was recollecting how it could happen. Interestingly, we were the 5 people who got selected and who joined together. And all those 5 people are in different places, but we keep a contact, because it was the first day for 5 of us as the first day as an employee. And this was in Larsen & Toubro's Hajira works in Surat, yeah. And that was the starting point. And if what you ask that how you have planned the career and how you wanted to see, my answer is it is a hybrid of the two things. One is I wanted something to see. I was aspiring for something, which is, you can say, I was looking for. That has also happened. But most of the things have happened on a random basis. As you see my career, the first biggest step at that point in time, I was always looking for a career in which I will have a direct communication with a lot of people. I was always interested in sales and marketing, since communication was one of my strengths. But I was also very strong on technical grounds, and that is why I was able to get through this Larsen & Toubro's stringent screening process of the technical abilities. And to my surprise, I was posted in design department to begin with. So that was the most surprising point, because that is the one where you have to be behaving like a researcher or research or development guy and design guy who would be more on very high on the study side kind of thing. So this is what was the profile which I got. And at that point in time, as I said, there was so much of apprehension that what will happen in the job situation. I just accepted that job since it had come to me. But it was a very, very fruitful career in Larsen & Toubro. And Larsen & Toubro was a big name, and still a big name, in terms of the profile of the company, in terms of the size of the company, opportunity. And also there were a lot of people who were from the more premier educational institutes than I am there. And this was kind of a good start for me. To answer your question, that it was a well thought dream. So I wanted to have two things, that I wanted to go to the private sector, and I wanted not to do the master's in engineering, since I wanted to do more on the management side. So this could be well thought through. But the randomness, as I said, I went into a job of designing, where I wanted to start with sales and marketing. So you can see the difference of the starting point. And I stayed there. I had a very good tenure. We did some very prestigious projects during that design tenure, including the hydrocracker project, which is basically a big project for Larsen & Toubro. And also, I got the chance to work very closely in a nuclear program, which was L&T has got a contract for, and the designing of those shells and heavy pressure vessels for the nuclear plants. So that was a good start. But as I said, always I wanted to go into the sales marketing more on the people-oriented action area, not in the design. I switched my job after a couple of years, or maybe 2.5 years, I would say. And then I joined a company called Shriram Pistons, where it was completely different in terms of the profile, in terms of the product, and from a very highly engineering oriented company, I went to a sales and marketing, which was one of the very good starting point for me, because there it was a very homely organization, as well as you work hard and have very hard, quick fun, also that fun loving people, very jovial people always there. And this basically helped me. It was based in Delhi, and then I was located in Jabalpur and Bhopal in that company. And that company gave me a lot of perspectives in terms of customer orientation, in terms of how to deal with different levels of people. And also it helped me to structure my communication, product related as well as audience related. So this is what was this thing. And after around the same amount of period, 2.5 years to 3 years, I switched into a MNC, which was at that point in time was known as Myco under Bosch Group. And I really found when I went there that I was kind of a fish who went into the right waters. So from a very fun driven company like Shriram Pistons, where I really enjoyed, now I was in an environment which was more process oriented, much bigger in volumes, much bigger in scale as compared to the previous assignment. But here I felt more comfortable, and my engineering and also this sales marketing combination helped me to prosper well. And that was in Myco. And then for the last 25 years, I made Bosch or Myco as my professional home. And I had a variety of assignments keep coming. And here, the randomness, what you're talking about, is pretty much visible, because I got the opportunity to work not only in different cities. I worked in Indore to start with, then Jaipur, then Mumbai, then Bangalore. So these all assignments were more on the sales side, where I was looking at sales. And then I was told to switch towards the source side. So one on the supply chain, there are people who are more on the one side is the customer, other side is the supplier. So I was always thinking that my skill set is quite good towards the customer end. But my bosses were having the different ideas, and they thought that the technical aspects, I was knowing a little bit better than an average sales guy. I could also do the marketing or the product marketing as well as those areas. So they put me put me into Singapore, and that was also very enriching. And I also did a lot of post-merger integration topic, because at that time my company acquired a big company in Japan, and that was a very good international experience for an Indian to have. And this started my global journey, you would say, that how this randomly and how one job will lead to another. That sequence is still on, because after getting those successful inputs, or also getting some good experience and confidence out of that tenure in Singapore, I started getting the job which were quite unconventional in that I would not have imagined. And here the randomness was visible, because I was sent to Pune, where I was heading a team of post-merger integration project, as well as heading a product division, which this product group was not covered in our normal portfolio, the braking systems. We were more into diesel systems and spark plugs and all that. So this was also a very enriching career. And I thought that normally people get one foreign assignment in the corporate life. I thought that I have done it with it, and I thought that this would be a long tenure here, and I was almost settling down. And then the offer came that I should become a marketing head in Japan, and this was completely unimaginable. This was not thought of at all, and I took the call as yes. And that Japan job led me to China also. So in a job which was earlier scheduled to be for 3 years, I almost spent 8 years, 7 years, you would say, out of India again. So in totality, I had 10 years outside India. And this is how this all randomness part of your what you asked is coming. And in 2019, later part, I could come back to India and had another challenging assignment of as a sales head for entire aftermarket product. So in nutshell, this is the long journey, but a very enriching journey. And there were a lot of good points as well as very troublesome and anxious points. But when you look back at 30 years, you would see that, yes, there were a lot of things which has come to me, and all those opportunities which come because some bosses trusted me that I could do that. And this is how I could able to answer your question.
Yeah, great, sir. Great, sir. Great journey. So, how much impact do you think the teachings of your parents and a good childhood learnings or a habit that has helped in your present success?
Yeah, so very good question. As I said, you are a very professional anchor, and this is a very good question. I was very lucky as to be born in a family which was very diverse in terms of the competence, in terms of understanding, and they were far open-minded people, particularly my father. And when during the childhood or during my earlier days as a kid, he was my mentor, guide, philosopher, everything. And he was a pillar of stability. And he was one person who has given me so many, just watching his behavior, demeanor, I learned quite a lot. And I never felt any need for an external coach or external guru or external mentor because I got a lot of learnings from him. He always used to have very crisp comments. Like he would say that we should put in all our efforts. First of all, we should decide whether we can do it or not. And then if you have decided, then don't look back. Then it is to be more than 100%. Such a small example how he helped me to prosper in the career. A topic came when I wanted to switch from Larsen and Toubro to Shriram Piston. As you would know, in a traditional setting of an Indian home of a middle class family, where if you want to jump from such a renowned company called Larsen and Toubro, and you want to go to a not equal par in terms of the name, although Shriram Piston on its own was also pretty good name, but as compared to Larsen and Toubro, it was considered that why we are taking such steps. This is what was the call within the family, close circle and all that. And my father said that whatever is coming in your mind, just do it. If something fails, I'm there. So this is what was the amount of confidence a young person like me below 25 years age would have wanted, because at that point in time, leaving a design job from Larsen and Toubro, lot of people told me that you are doing such a disaster, or what kind of a decision is this? But I'm pretty happy that my family stood with it. And so he gave me a lot of confidence. And the other thing which he taught me to be fearless in everything and honest. So this is something which is the early stage of life which I could able to pick up. And credit goes to the father, of course. Mother gave the other part, which is more on the creativity, on the literature side, on whatever I'm able to do in writing. And you mentioned about the theater as well as the quiz and all that. So this all communication part and softer part definitely came from mother. So this is how I would say the childhood impact on overall personality.
Okay, sir. Sir, however, you have touched something upon it, but still I want to ask you this question, that you have worked in great companies like L&T or Shriram Pistons, and then you got an opportunity to work in global companies, big multinational. So what kind of cultural differences did you experience in each job transitions?
Yeah. So actually, as I said, the scale was different and also the process orientation. Shriram Piston was, I have so many friends also from Shriram Pistons where we had really some funny, jolly moments when we achieved the sales turnover, we enjoy. And that was work hard and party hard kind of a very good environment. And then Myco Bosch was, but fortunately for me, the transition was gradual because Myco was, although it was MNC, but it was not 100% into the global orientation. So as I started my journey, it was more process oriented, lot many products, and scale was quite high. So what the turnover I started handling was 10 times than what I was handling in Shriram Piston with a similar profile. And then gradually, as Myco has got a higher influence of Bosch, I was pretty lucky time-wise that I went to Singapore in right time in 2005. That was, and there I learned that what is the global orientation is all meant. But the years before that, in Myco, also I got prepared to the process orientation. I got prepared to how to communicate with the different layers in the organization, different nationalities in the organization. And when I went to Singapore, actually, it was a learning point that basically how I could able to adapt to those conditions. And this is how I said there were a lot of bosses who will chase you because they were looking you at from an international perspective to deliver. And then a lot of things they could make a change in that. So one concrete example I want to give you because normally in India, you would recall that whenever we are answering some questions, we have very long answers. Even in our exam patterns, we write number of pages is proportional to the amount of correctness what you have done with the question paper. So we take a lot of supplementary papers and basically keep writing elaborate basis essay type of approaches, what we consider that we know many aspects. This is what is shown. When I went to Singapore, my boss was from Norway, and he was basically looking for much different way of communication style and presentation style. I always used to make 15, 16 slides on a topic, and he was quite patient in the beginning. He would always ask me how many slides. I would proudly say 12 slides, 13 slides, 16 slides, and all that. And one fine day, he came and told me that you are elaborating too much. You are not concise. You are having very staggered, abstract presentation. Next time, I don't want more than 5 slides. So this was a cultural shock because I come from our upbringing where the elaborate description is proportional to the success of the person. And this to limit the whole conversation into 5 slides, I took it as a challenge. And there were always this monthly reviews with him, and it went into my heart that I have to recover. I have to show that this can be done from my side. And that was a very high learning experience for me. That what he just said in those on that day, that I don't want 15 slides. I want message to be conveyed in 5 slides. So those 2 weeks were very, very enriching for me. Yes, at that point in time, I was not so happy, but that taught me to look into the depth of the matter, only bringing the key points. And I challenged myself that this person has said 5 slides. And when the presentation started 1 month later, I told him that, Mr. So-and-so, today there are five slides. First is the opening slide, and the last one is the thank you slide. So the condensed version of 3 slides I'm presenting to you. So this is what was my reaction to that. And this has taught me immensely in terms of to be successful in international environment, where people are looking for to the points, people are looking for very precise, concise communication. And I'm very grateful that this could be possible with such kind of a global enrichment experience.
Correct. So the major part of your career had been into automobile sector, and this sector had been always been the prime mover of the economy. So how do you see the future of the automobile industry with the advent of Tesla, Google, or the fuel cell technology, and maybe the hydrogen cars and so on?
Yeah. So this is again a lot of discussions are happening about automated vehicle, driverless driving, Google coming in, so many Tesla is a leading player. But I would give one example that China, for example, was the early starter after US in terms of those electric vehicles and all that. The penetration has not reached that high a number. There was an initial estimation that 25% of the vehicle will be electric by 2020, which didn't happen. Then they postponed it to 25, and now even with this COVID, 2025 for that kind of a market share for electric and new technology vehicle looks a little bit weak. Our business, particularly, we are a traditional engine management company in which diesel and gasoline are the main drivers. We have also heavily invested into different technologies. But currently looking at this pandemic situation, as well as the global economy, as well as there are a lot of infrastructure development which are necessary for to have all those vehicles, what you mentioned, to be a part of the daily life, it will further get delayed. That is what is the current. But this technology can only be delayed. It would be ominous and promising. And you have variety of things is happening. Particularly the pollution is the one aspect, and also the dollar price of the fuel. If you remember, in when this corona started, the fuel prices tanked to very low level in the month of April and all that. So these vulnerabilities are also there, and the pollution is one of the key factor for this kind of a assessment. But still, I believe that because of corona, the penetration of all this new technology will further get delayed. And by then, I would not know whether what would be the clear customer choice or behavior, because the customer wants uninterrupted drives, which is a concern with the electric vehicle in terms of kilometers, in terms of the charging infrastructure and all that. But we cannot. So what my clear answer is that it will come, but it will not come as quickly as the world was anticipating.
Correct. Great, sir. So you have been an ardent traveler, and you have traveled more than 40 countries in your professional life. So what are the culture, food, habits, work ethics related differences or variants you have observed, and how did you adapt it to those changes?
Yeah, so actually, one should go. I was having traveling and tourism as my hobby. So I wanted to see the world, and the job opportunity also gave me this chance. So this was a win-win situation for my personal hobby and also professional aspiration. So this was a very good combination for me. I'm pretty lucky on that. And to answer your question regarding the people, I always went with an open mind, basically to see that how we can learn. And at the same time, as I said, learning from my father or my uncle, that I went with very straight head. Not that we are from country which is not so good in economy, not so good in other thing. I always went there with a very positive mindset for our own country, and also went there with a very clear mindset to learn out of their culture, out of their food habits. I'm primarily a vegetarian, but also you have to adopt to certain food which are there. Food is a good connector, because if you are able to show some keenness in some other people's food or culture, so food is a good connector to that particular culture. And the work ethics, as I said, there are different countries. The Japan could be one of the example I can give for the work culture. They are extremely workaholic people. They are also not very open people. And for them, the number of hours put in, the loyalty. So these all are the things which we have to respect. And we also not necessarily that I should get, that was another thing which I did, that I didn't reverse integrated myself into a Chinese. People, a lot of time they say, be Roman in Rome. But I always say, let's not be Roman in Rome beyond a point, because you cannot become even you try your best, you cannot become a Rome, and the Romans will not accept that you have become a Roman. So this is how I went through this sentence, because all the time people will teach you that you just adapt to the culture, you should follow the culture. So my point was that let's not become a Roman in Rome, but adopt ourselves to such an extent that Roman starts accepting you. Because come what may, you cannot change your culture, you cannot change your face, you cannot change your reaction pattern. These are inherent. And you can always change your passports, you can always change your this thing, but nobody will count you as a Roman. Roman is just an example as a I'm giving. So this is what was this I understood quite quickly and quite early. One of, as my father, there was one his younger brother, uncle, he was also traveling abroad. So I used to have a lot of influence from his thinking, and he always said that we should see eye to eye with the world. And this is something which I always did, but not with arrogance, but with total understanding that whatever comes, we have to face it. And of course, we have some weaker points today, but we also have a very strong heritage and culture and a lot of things we have done very well in the past, which is not that properly explained. But we should not be shying away from taking that lineage into our daily life and also into our conversation. So that I always, in the family, there was always a talk that this colonial hangover need not to be overestimated for our life if we want to be successful. Because the more you are having that hangover that we are from the third world or we are from a country which is not prospering, it will put yourself into more deeper trouble than it will be coming out of that mud.
Right. Very true, very true. And very well said, sir. So those of us who knew you from the early days, we see a great communicator in you. You possess extraordinary oratory writing skills, and that too in multiple languages. These are generally considered as a must for a man to become a writer. So what made you to decide to take writing more seriously? And you wrote a very nice book, Jag Firta Firta, and then it was released in 3 linguistic versions. So I think a story of a writer, I can just throw some light on it.
Yeah, so as nowadays people say I'm an accidental writer, because when I went to Japan, one of the colleague Christopher is there. When I met him in Japan, that was the time when I was my family was in India and I was alone. Completely different environment and completely different culture. And basically to spend the evenings, you get connected via those times. Skype was one of the option, and also the Facebook was the another option. So as a just you are visiting a new country, I was not that frequently posting something on Facebook till then. But then I would say that today I went for getting my visa done. All those small tidbits I kept on writing, and this is how it started, and this is how I also get connected with those colleagues whom I was working with in Pune or Bangalore or wherever. So they also got connected, and I will post some picture of some place in Japan and all that. So this was the starting point. And after this tenure in Japan, I went to China. And here again, I was not having the family. Family come a little bit later. So almost 3.5 to 4 years, I was alone. And at that point in time, I got the chance to go to a farmer's place in China. And this was a turning point as far as my writing career is concerned. So it was again accidental. We went to see a good big lake was there. It's a tourist place where I went.
Yeah.
And after visiting in the tourist place, my driver, because we were not allowed to drive the vehicle in China because of the company rules, the driver told me that can we visit a nearby farmer. So I just said yes. And there I felt that we went to a farmer's place. We were uninvited guests over there. This business barged in. It was a joint family, and the two sons and father. And I was not knowing any Chinese. He was not knowing any English. Forget about Hindi and Marathi. So no
Yeah.
English word. I was the first foreigner to visit that farmer. Not even forget about the Indian. Not a other nationality person has ever visited to his place. But after a while, we felt that the language is not the barrier. The sentiments, the connection from the heart and connection from the eye contact and body language is a very good way of communication. I had a wonderful time here. My driver also gave translation support in the whole conversation. And believe me, we spent a lot of time there discussing about the coexistence of India and China, the Buddhism, and then the 1962 war. And then there was one song which was very popular in Russia and China, Avara Hu, that was in
Yeah.
Raj Kapoor's film way back in the 60s. He was
Right.
knowing that. And he had his son and the grandson, and also the grandson, then daughter-in-law and wife. So it was felt like I have gone to a home which is far away from my home, and I felt very homely in that Chinese place. So I wrote about this experience, saying that whatever we hear between India and China, sometimes we look from the prism of the 1962 war, or lot of negatives keep on happening at the government level or administrative level. There are always doubts about the quality topics and all that. So beyond that, there was a life, there was a clear connection, coexistence, and even Buddha and all those stories which we talked about. So this I wrote in on the Facebook, and then it was liked. And every time when the likes and comments on the Facebook used to increase, it motivated to write me a little bit bigger and bigger. And then came to Pune. At that point, I was handling Asia Pacific, so Pune was also under my department, and I had a colleague called Anand Gore. So he was pretty impressed with my writing. Although we had the same family name, but we were not relatives. But we had got connected so very well that he pushed me. Actually, I was his boss, but he was pushing me that we must go and show this article to some newspaper or some. We should must do that. This has come out very well. I told him that I was pretty reluctant, hesitant, and I may be very confident on the business matters. On such matters, I was extremely skeptical that nobody will be bothering to see what I have written and all that. And it was written in Hindi, and we showed it to one of the Marathi newspaper, and he said, "No, this is a good one." And then I thought that let's translate it. I was not so good at that time with Marathi, so we get the help of Anand's father. So this is how this Marathi article was made, although I was having good knowledge of Marathi as a speaker, but not as something which I could write in Marathi. You know, there is a lot of difference between talking and what you write.
Yeah.
This article, we gave it to the concerned person whom we talked, and then I flew back to Shanghai because I thought that that's it, we tried our best. But within 15 days, this article was published full page on a Sunday supplement on a Marathi newspaper called Sakal. And this is how I was really unexpected and completely unthinkable thing which came into existence. And this is how this journey started. And I thought that this one article has happened, but again, the same as the destiny was to drive me towards having the book released. Same Anand Gore was pushing me that we should compile, you should write more, you should think of all the places what you have gone. And then I gave a thought in 2007, I had gone to Oslo, and there was an anecdote regarding Mahatma Gandhi and Nobel Prize. So I kept on searching all those in my memory, and then I could able to compile a book which was published in 2017. And you also came for that wonderful ceremony in which I was really happy to see around 250 odd people. And that was the starting point of the career. As one step leads to the another, this kept on happening. And as Marathi was the starting point, and actually then why not in English and why not in Hindi? And this is how the Jag Firta Firta Unplugged in Marathi, Aankho Dekhi Unplugged in Hindi, and Globetrotting Unplugged in English came into existence.
Correct. Very nice. So some of your articles which were published in Facebook were also attracting a lot of eyeballs, and I was also one of them who used to ask you to, why don't you compile these things? Great, sir.
Yeah.
So my next question would be from your some great childhood experiences. See, when we meet iconic personalities, it causes a deep impact in our life. So can you please tell us about the impact of meeting late Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee during your childhood?
So I think Umesh, you have read my book a few times. That's why you are really. So this is again coming out of the family background. My father was pretty active socially, politically, as well as all the social activity, philanthropy, and all that. So Mr. Bajpayee used to come to our home, and he was having very friendly talks with my father. And I got the chance. He used to stay at our home, and then when he started growing in his stature, he was still visiting our place. He was the Minister for External Affairs in 1977 Janata government, and he gave one speech in the UNO in Hindi, which inspired me. Actually, he was the first Indian orator to speak in Hindi on a UNO platform way back in 1978. So after that, this incident happened in 1983 when he was out of the power, but he was the president of the current BJP. And he came to our house, and I was, I think, in 8th or 9th standard in school. And I wanted to have his photograph. And it was a really very cozy family atmosphere with only 5-6 people at our home, our family, and 5-6 supporters of Mr. Bajpayee, and maybe 100-200 standing outside our home. So at that point in time, as a small kid, I was with my elder sister. We both were so happy to see him. And I just forwarded my autograph book to him. By then, I had taken some autographs, and when Mr. Bajpayee signed and gave it to me, I was really shocked to see that this signature was in Hindi. And it was the only signature till then I had on my autograph book, which was in Hindi. And this inspired me, this directly connected me to his speech in UNO, where he spoke that we should always encourage the local languages in our upliftment and also development. And I asked him that, is it in Hindi? And he just smiled. He was a very reluctant talker on such a small setting. And he just smiled. And then he went away for his, there was a public meeting which he was to address. And there was a gap in that period. He only came to meet us. So that way, this anecdote happened. But that word that we should always encourage our local languages, that hit me like a big time hit on my head. And from that day till today, so from 1983 to 2020, so we have almost how many 37 years. And I have not signed on any document other than this Devanagari script, where I stayed here or I went abroad. And this is one always those who work with me know that on any official document, they would have seen my Hindi signatures or Devanagari signatures. So this is what was the influence of that great anecdote with Mr. Bajpayee.
Yeah. Great, sir. I always get thrilled when you talk about our late Prime Minister. So my my next question will again bring you to the present world. You had a pretty long stay in China, and during that time, you also watched more closely the journey of China from a developing nation to a global superpower. So, what are those ingredients that you would like to bring into our country?
Again, a very good question, Umesh. We have a lot of information vacuum with respect to China. We have, and currently, the negative sentiments out of coronavirus and all that. But that is a country which is to be seen with a very open perspective. Or sometimes what you see in the newspapers, what you see in the government postures, there is a Communist Party government there, and they have a certain way of doing the things. But the Communist Party, the army, and the people can are also not the same as perceived by us. The people over there are quite different. People are quite friendly, and they know the existence of India and China. There is a saying in western part of China, in their local language, which we have a lot of quotes, that if I would like to have my second birth, I would like to get birth in Buddha's land in India. This is the Chinese quote, which is always tell about the coexistence part. But on the development part, after 1949, when the Communist Party came into power, the first 30, 40 years were very difficult for China economically. But they have taken a lot of steps since 1978, which started showing fruits from the late 90s or 2000, where the economic growth of China just progressed, skyrocketed. From economy of 1 billion, it raised now into the 1 trillion, to now it has become 14 trillion. And to reach from this level to that level, there are a lot of hard work, perseverance, commitment with the Chinese people show. I was very lucky that when I was in Singapore, I also used to go to China on business trips. And my first visit was in 2005. When I went to China, I had a lot of images in my mind that this must be a communist ruled state where the people would be having a lot of factories and manufacturing units, people going on bicycles and all that image, very poor people. And this was the image I was carrying till I reached the Shanghai airport. What I saw that there is a determination and there is a complete transformation happening to the city. And this was early in 2005. And I had to go for my official work from Shanghai to Nanjing, so 300-kilometer distance. And I had to take the train. And around 6 hours was the time duration, more or less same what we also have in India, that we have 300 kilometers. In the early 2000s, you will require 5 hours or 6 hours to reach. So this was the starting point. After 2005, I kept on going over there till 2008-9. And then in 2013, I got the chance to go there and stay. So why I'm saying all this years, that you can correlate the electric speed of their development. This is what I wanted to highlight in this example. In 2005, I said 6 hours from from Shanghai to Nanjing. When I went there in 2013, there was a bullet train from Shanghai to Nanjing, 300 kilometers. The distance is same. I could reach in 59 minutes. And this is what was the progress. This is the scale of the project progress which they have made. And you can go to Nanjing and come back 2 times in a day with this guy if you want to. And this is what was one of the dimension which China did on its own. And then they spread the network of this train. So people would think that Shanghai is a big city. So is it limited only to the bigger cities? The answer is no. They developed around 25,000 kilometer network of bullet trains. And this is just an example, basically, to give that what kind of a development is. And the turnover or the GDP increased from 1 trillion, close to 1 trillion in 1995 to 2000, to reach into 14 trillion is, you can think that what all this people would have done. And yes, the government had different viewpoints on political issues, military related issues, but on economic issues, they had some vision, and they always felt that they want to challenge the Americans, and they wanted to show the world that how they can transform even being a communist state. So this is what was the development story. You have also attended a lot of such webinars which I have done on China. But one thing what we must see, that we have to segregate when we assess China from the government postures, army postures, and into what are the perseverance or what kind of commitment, punctuality. What I have just another example. I had the driver and all the maid. They worked with me for 6 years. On 6 years, there was not a single day where these people turned up 1 minute late.
Okay, great.
Whether raining, not raining, cold, sometimes the temperatures are -6, sometimes 1 degree.
Yeah.
But this is the level of punctuality and sincerity, which is amazing, which the Chinese people show.
Great, 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 great. So now, if I ask you to guide share a piece of advice to our young generations who are budding professionals, what will be your message to them?
Yeah, basically, one message will go in the direction of the communication for the people. As I said, the concise, to the point communication. This could be one of the things which all of us should learn. The second is the time management, which is
Yeah.
sometimes we are not having a good image or perception that on time happening or finishing the schedules on time or assignments on time. This is something which we should work both on the real term as well as on perception term, and also do not have the inferiority complex. Particularly the youngsters, the colonial baggage may stay with our fathers or grandparents, but it should not stay with us in terms of the confidence. If we today we are among the top 5, tomorrow we could be among the top 3 or 4 economies, and we have to get rid of this shyness in terms of inferiority complex. We should not also go towards the over arrogant superiority complex that we know everything, but we have to find the right balance if we have to maintain a rightful place in the global structure, economic structure. Then I always say that if you have to be successful, for an Indian to be successful in outside or any for that matter, if you have to work in you are in Maharashtra, you have to be successful in Karnataka, or you are working in Germany, you have to be successful in China. The three things which are normally prescribed, here I use the word prescribe, goes as like this. First of all, you should have a strong domain knowledge. So if you are going from one place to another place, if you are having a strong domain knowledge, which should be the primary requirement, and this should also be demonstrated. So the people where you are reaching, suppose you are going from Germany to China, for example, then the Chinese should recognize that this domain knowledge is much better for this person, then the acceptability comes pretty good. Then there has to be a genuine appetite for assertiveness and harmonious relationship. So there will be a lot of things you may not like because of your cultural thing, a lot of things what you would have a superiority complex or inferiority complex, but there should be a genuine appetite for assertive and harmonious relationship with zero ego. Because if you want to be successful in a different terrain, you cannot have this kind of ego in your mind. Otherwise, this will become a roadblocker for you. And the third is to ability to sustain your momentum. This is very, very important because there are a lot of hardness. It is not that everything is rosy for me to go, for anybody for that matter, to go to a different place and start working, which normally happens because you study in some state and you work in another state. So this can be correlated. This can be correlated, and here you have to absorb this cultural hindrances. It can be the adversity of climate. It can be adversity of the relations. It can be also racism. It can be also different kind of bullying or whatever. So there has to be a ability to sustain your motivation running through all these things, which may not be there at a very high level all the time, but nobody can deny that they always exist in some or the other degree, in some or the other point of life. So these are the three things which I would recommend people to do.
Yeah.
Apart from, as I said, concise answers, time management, and also the third point is to be confident. This would be my clear viewpoint on this.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Very true. And so now, philanthropy is one of the most important cornerstone in your life. You also had mentioned about this in your book, and I personally know you have a big heart that beats for others. So can you please share your thoughts on it?
Yeah. So when you start having some kind of a achieving something or accomplishment, it is always good to guide more and more people. And all the things which I started basically to give back to the college from where I studied. Hmm.
Yeah.
So because of this strong educational foundation in that place, I could able
Mhm.
to get whatever I could achieve. And I just wanted to give back this to the college, and that is why I started this project in memory of my beloved late mother and father. That I would sponsor 5 candidates in terms of their tuition fee, and this was the idea to give back or pay back to the society or to the same place. Because if I would not have become engineering graduate from that location, I would not have achieved whatever I could able to achieve, because at that point in time, engineering was a must to have or good to have kind of a certification. And
Yeah.
that was the starting point, and I was so happy that I could able to support some 5 aspiring students who were otherwise quite good in their studies, but always having this burden of how to cope up with the economic needs of their education. So this is what I wanted to do, and this project, by grace of God, I could able to do. And this also percolated during this pandemic period, when there were a lot of workers, or there were a lot of mercenary workers, or who lost the job, migrant workers they call it here,
Yeah.
and they were jobless, and they were also foodless and homeless. So
Yes.
when this lockdown was announced, we looked at a lot of support came
Mhm.
from the people who are connected with me on the Facebook. We could support 11 such families in this whole process in terms of their entire needs for 21 days. And I'm very happy that whatever we learned from our family roots, what I learned from my parents, I could able to do. And now my elder daughter is also having her own job. She also
Yeah.
contributed for to support 2 families out of the 11 which we supported as a family. And there were a lot of personal satisfaction in that. There was one priest in Ahmedabad, or there were some security person or some person who was doing security jobs or other petty jobs, or somebody was doing carpentry job in Varanasi, or someone who was doing a masonry job in Pune or in
Yeah.
Noida. So we could able to support a lot of people, and some was a railway porter in Raipur. So like that, we could support some people of the uh, uh, different profile in terms of how they earn their livelihood. And this was truly satisfying in terms of
Yeah.
it's a very small effort, but it
Yeah.
is a hugely satisfying effort, I would say.
Correct. Correct. So making of an Ashish Gore is not a function of Ashish Gore alone. So society might have worked, somewhere in between during your all this magnificent journey. So it's a good idea to pay it back. Great idea, sir.
Yeah,
So
thank
now
you.
this brings us to the next question. In this moment, when you have completed 30 great years of your professional life, would you like to share or mention the extremes, like very tough times or time of jubilation in your professional life?
Yeah, there are a lot of tough moments. And as I
Yeah.
said in one of the answers, that it would not be fair enough to say that you don't have the share of all the difficulties, adversities, racism, and all that. But you
Yeah.
have to go through it. On the tough moments, yes, there were topics like post-merger acquisitions, which are the very tough moments.
Yes.
And I was acquiring a company which was a successful company. So it is always
Yes.
very difficult to change the mindset of the successful people, because successful people are very hard to change. They will challenge you on every steps. And if you are normally, the acquisition happens of a company which is likely to be bankrupt, people are not in that mood. People know that they have not done something well. But in my case, what task was I was having in hand, and that's why it was very tough to convince the people who were successful, but somehow their parent company was acquired, and that's why Bosch got entry into it. I had a lot of trouble in terms of getting that, but I'm pretty happy that I could able to overcome. In terms of the tough moments, there is always a fair share of hierarchical intimidation, which also one cannot ignore in such a long period of time. Sometimes
Yeah.
you will find those kind of things. You are yourself are in corporate life. You know what I'm talking about. This hierarchical intimidations, or the corporate scorekeeping, or those people who will guide you. Always there are situations where you will feel that there are more umpires and less players. In such situation, you really feel turbulent, because then you will get the guidance from all corners, and you know that it is not what is needed. And this is also a topic which I am most of the time correlating, that if you have to be successful, if we have to look into a 5 trillion economy kind of a country,
Yeah.
we should also go away from this colonial mindset. Also, we should go away from this hierarchical intimidation and corporate scorekeeping kind of a culture. And we should transform ourselves into business mentors and role models. And this
Yeah.
is something which Indian management, top management, or the also somewhat true in Asian context as well. But this is very important to transform ourselves to be more successful, particularly companies like us, or also the companies in which you are working, Umesh, where
Yeah.
there are a lot of traditional successful things, but we to transform that, we need to have a lot of changes.
True.
On the jubilation side, there are many. The first jubilation was when I got my first managerial job in Jaipur. Then that was the first time I got exposure how to lead a team who are of almost of my age, and to become
Okay.
leader of that team was very jubilant. And then
Right.
my job in Mumbai, where I had one guy who was 22 years old, and the other team member was 55-year-old. And this is
Okay.
how the degree of difficulty, and that was
Yeah.
also quite a jubilation. And then, of course, the achievements in the jobs in Pune, Tokyo, or Singapore, and then the large businesses and the large teams with massive complexity, which I could able to handle in China and currently handling in Bangalore. This is
Yeah.
still could be seen as a jubilation part.
Great. 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 Great, sir. So I again congratulate you and I wish you a great years ahead. So what are the next big plans in the making of Ashish Gore?
Yeah, so here I have structured a lot of thought process when I started my career. And I'm a big fan of Abraham Maslow's pyramid, which most of the MBA guys would know.
Yeah.
And here you have the 5-layered pyramid, which starts from physiological needs,
Yeah.
catering to food, water, shelter, warmth, rest, all this,
Yeah.
and then going into safety need and up to belonging, esteem, and then self-actualization. So I was highly impressed with this, although it is not a technically sound model, but it is more on the psychology and more on the softer aspect of life, where this Abraham Maslow pyramid has been successful upon. And of course, it changed, because even in Corona, if you see, I was monitoring. In Corona, even the people who were in the esteem needs or in the self-actualization, they came down, because the safety and security became the prime need. Hmm?
Correct.
So this is also can change, which Corona has told. But I still
Yeah.
stick to this Maslow pyramid, and this what gives me a clear picture that what to do next on the basis of where you assess yourself in this particular pyramid. And The other thing which always motivated people talk about job satisfaction. I always looked at life satisfaction instead of job satisfaction, because we have three elements of our personality. One is, of course, the job, which sometimes, depending upon where we are on the Maslow pyramid, what is the need of the job. So here we have to give importance and weightage as per that. Second is the family, and third, you as a person. And these three things should be balanced. This is what in my point of view, the work-life balance is that. And instead of job satisfaction, we should look for the life satisfaction. And are we staying relevant in the life? This is the question I always ask myself, according to Maslow pyramid. So this is what I always thought. And on this basis, I draw up my new plans. Of course, if you have seen my whole journey, the very random and very abrupt changes have happened. So I do not discount that. But if you ask me today, I do not want myself to be away only looking at job satisfaction. Life satisfaction is something is there. And when you have this kind of a assessment of yourself with respect to the job, your family, you, and the Maslow pyramid, you should not be always imprisoned to those salary perks or salary packages. You should be more looking outward in terms of self-actualization. This is what I see. And this is the time in which you achieve something, but you don't know that you are using the true potential on the other sides of your attributes or qualities. And that's why this is the period which is the time for introspection. And I always look into it from that perspective, and not necessarily to be imprisoned in the perk packages as our old generation did, that whatever has to be done after job we should do and all that. But this is all thought process we should pitch in. Not necessarily there is a need for you to change something in terms of the job, in terms of your own situation, but always every year you should assess that and move forward. And this kind of interaction, which I feel would also be one of the activities in terms of coaching or mentoring, which I feel that I can contribute to the larger people in the society as compared to what I do today. So these are all the thought processes which I feel nothing concrete, but these are the thoughts which gives me a lot of stimulations in order to have some kind of reality or relevance check with respect to the life goal.
Great, sir. Great, sir. So I'm going to say fantastic. It was a great conversation with you, sir. And this is all from my side. And I think you have answered all the questions very nicely and very to the point. And
Okay.
and at this moment of time, when a lot of your friends, family members, and others are around in this conversation, I request you to just take over for me, and maybe you can have a small conversation with everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, Umesh. Very well structured and very well organized. All the questions made my life simpler in terms of answering. Excellently done. And you covered almost everything out of what I would have otherwise communicated. And I am really indebted for your this support, effort, and time. Thank you so much. You remain, and if anyone on the chat, if there are some questions, we can discuss, or we can have an informal conversation. Maybe for another 5-10 minutes we can do that. And I'm really happy that people joining from almost all the three companies which I have worked so far, as well as people like Christopher joining from Germany and others joining from other countries. So this is pretty good to have all of you, and it's absolute pleasure to have this conversation. And maybe it would give me a good chance to reach out to the very diverse and richly knowledgeable audience which we have. I'm open for questions, and we can unmute and ask, or anybody is on Facebook, maybe we can also take those questions. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Very good evening. Jagajit here. I am having a question. My question is, sir, in sometimes we are working with many of the companies and also coming to our family aspects also. Sometimes we face some difficulties and in both in personal life as well as in professional life. So at that time, how you or how to control the anxiety as you have gone through a number of number of countries and number of works you have done. So a very professional, balanced life of 30 years, and so how to control the anxiety at that time
Yeah.
and how
So
to
yeah. So
keep
Jagatjeet,
yourself
this is
calm.
a good question. And today's in pandemic situation, most of us are facing some or the other degree of this. As I always said, there are three elements. One is your professional life, other is family, and third, you as a person. So first of all, we have to make a lot of strong belief in our family in terms of strengthening them in different eventualities. Like in my case, the family has done excellent support to me because for 4 years, not only I was alone, but they were also alone here. And the last 1 year, my family was alone in an alien country like China, where I was in India for last few months. So this is what is the support we get from the family, and for that we all have to prepare in terms of understand what could be the possible uh, problems, what could be the possible answers to those problems, and this way we have to handle this. And again, as I said, we always should try to balance. As I said, this Maslow pyramid is also a good indicator. What is the need of the job, what is the need of the family, and what is the need of me investing time? This is clearly visible if you keep yourself positioning in that Maslow pyramid. This would help you to visualize from a different perspective that for which thing you have to give importance to. If there is a critical health issue in the family, then the family is must. If there is a criticality with you as a person, you are must. But if these two things are not there and then there are concerns, then you have to evaluate how much to dedicate the time to the job, whether the job is needed. The answer on most of the time for people of your age would be yes, the job is very much needed. Then you will have to see if the job is very much needed, what are the other constraints which we can reduce to the extent that we can reduce the impact. In such situation, you cannot mitigate the impact, but you always reduce the impact. And when you reduce the impact, sometimes we also look for complete solution, but sometimes the 50% of the solution or the 60% of the solution also work in our favor.
Yeah, right. Thank you, sir. Clear.
Hi Ashish, this is Gurdeep Singh Shriram Distance.
How are you? Good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And it was a very nice session, I must say that. And in which year you were in Shriram Distance, by the way?
Yeah, I
And
was there from 92 to 94.
92 to 94. Okay, okay. No, I remember you. I remember you. Very hardworking and very promising person. I
Hmm.
remember you.
Yeah.
And
And I also remember you for all your great tenacity to perform, and you were always looking for striving for success. And the fun part, which I explained in the initial period of my conversation, comes also through you.
okay, okay. Umeji, he was very hardworking and very down to earth, and he has very clear fundas in his life. I must say that. And that time, our senior GM was Mr. J.R. Trehan, and he really used to like him, and he never wanted that he should leave Shriram Business. And he allowed some chakkar, and I'm not joining some job if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
So I'll be joining some uncle business or some business, but because he never wanted him to leave, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
very nice, very nice. And you really spoke very well, and you have all the answers and for everything. I'm very, very happy. I'm very proud, feeling proud of myself that I know you. And all the very
Yeah.
best
Thank you so much.
for
Yeah.
years ahead. God
And
bless you. God bless
Yeah.
you.
Thank you so much for joining today after so many years. It's always pleasure to have you.
आप बुलाए हमने कि दिल से कोई बुलाता है तो क्यों नहीं जाना चाहिए, बिल्कुल जाना चाहिए.
Yeah.
And not that कि you should sit there for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and walk off. No,
Thank you
you
so
have to
much.
sit.
Yeah.
That is why I requested Gurmail, because I was trying to find out who else knows you. So Gurmail I could remember. So
Mhm.
he also tried. So
Yeah.
all the very best. It was very
Okay.
nice. Very nice. We'll catch up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Bye.
so
Bye.
much.
Hello, good evening, Ashish. Shyam this side.
Yeah, Sham.
Yeah. Anyway, congratulations, 30 year, no? Completing 30 year,
Yeah.
different geography, especially 12 years in abroad. So that also different countries actually. China and all means I heard a lot about the China, but working there and making so much establishment in your career, it is a really appreciable one. Even Japan, actually, one of the my means wish list country to work there. Japan, I think you have almost 1.5 year, no? Close to 1.5 year work there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. One means thought in my mind, just like this customer behavior, how it is differ. If you see Indian customer, we have all this, no? Especially for automotive, you see the mechanic, then retailer. I know abroad it is again different structure there actually. I think China, I heard little bit very means
Yeah.
close to Indian kind of structure. But
Yeah. So
what is the difference actually you feel the customer behavior totally? Then what actually, where it is heading towards, especially the current COVID situation and all? I am
yeah. So
looking
you
for
have
the
to.
our current portfolio business, automotive
Yeah.
aftermarket business. Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as there are two parts. One is what is the customer behavior. All the customers are same in terms of they want to get maximum with minimum investment. So they are all profit oriented entrepreneurs who want to get maximum for themselves. This is more on the behavior side. Then you talk about the structures. So there are a lot of evolving structures in places like Japan, places like mm, China. And in Japan, there is a lot of retail markets. There are some supermarkets like what we have, the big automotive malls, which are present everywhere, where you end user can go pick up, do for yourself kind of products and get it fitted themselves or get it fitted from those mechanics. So this is more a retail oriented segment. Some of the same model also exist in United States. China is a mix of everything. Basically, China is a traditional distribution. What we have in India is called as traditional distribution setup, where you have the traditional distributors, then there are the layers like retailers, then the mechanics. Normally, the end user will go to garages or mechanic, and the mechanic or the garage people would decide on the which product, which brand, what price level product is to be fitted. This is a traditional model. And in the retail model, the end user or the car owner himself goes to a Shopee and picks up the product of his choice of his brand, and then he himself fits in the vehicle, or he goes to do it for myself, as it is called in US, where he goes to a jobber who fits those parts into the car. So this is the second kind of arrangement. And the third very interesting phenomena which is occurring is very popular to the extent of 10 to 15% and growing and jumping is the e-commerce business, where there is a O2O platform, means there is an online purchase and offline fitment. And this is something which is evolving in China. China is the front runner, and also the countries like European countries, as well as in Japan and US, the companies are also having a lot of good share of e-commerce. But due to this pandemic, as you asked the counter question, that due to this pandemic, the e-commerce type of this O2O purchase pattern will grow dramatically. And this is what is being anticipated. And this will challenge the traditional distributors, because here the people can buy directly on the platform. But the challenge for people like us in India or in Asia who do not like to fit the spark plugs or batteries or wiper blades or alternators ourselves in the car. We have lesser labor fees, so we always go to a roadside mechanic or a standard garage to get our product fitted. Whereas in America or Europe, the cost of labor to get it fitted in the car is more than the product itself. People prefer to change the tires themselves. They change the spark plug themselves. They change the wiper blade themselves. So this is kind of a different behavior where this e-commerce and O2O will come into play. So we have interesting time, and we can have very long elaborated answer on that. But at the moment, we are on the traditional side. E-commerce is slightly picking up. I'm again talking towards the automotive aftermarket segment, but it will catch up. And if I have to compare with China, someday 10 to 15% will also happen from the e-commerce if the same pace at which we are going post-COVID is maintained.
Okay. Thank you, Ashish, for your elaborated answer.
Thank you.
Okay, Ashish, actually, Navneet here, there is no question, but very inspirational speech. And, I have heard that before preaching others, you should practice yourself. So the three things what you have told, the precise communication, time management, and no inferiority complex. So this actually, I see you living in and day out. And I enjoy the meetings what you conduct also, like sharp start and sharp end. So really keep it up, and my best wishes for much more achievement, whatever you have said as a future plans. So wish you all the best, and life satisfaction also I will remember. It's a very simple one, 2 word, but it says it all. Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Navneet.
Yeah, Ashish, Shailendra here.
Yeah, Shailendra.
Yeah, I remember when I joined Bosch way back in 2001 in Jaipur. So you are my first boss in sales office Jaipur. And I will say that many things I have learned from you, the customer-centric approach, and a lot of others, other skill sets I have learned from you. And congratulations for this journey of 30 years, and wish you all the best for your future journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shailendra. Thank you so much.
Hi, Ashish, this is Santosh speaking.
Santosh.
Very, very inspirational journey, and also the way you explained your journey, inspirational, at least for us people who are looking at, and we have still so many years to reach that level. So one more thing which I wanted to ask you is probably that didn't come out today in the discussion is many of the cultural transformation or the organizational transformation topic that you are involved in your journey. I had an opportunity to have some conversation with you personally that is definitely inspirational and also a lot to learn. Can you give a small insight about that in this call so that it makes perfect that like you are also covering that?
Sorry, Santosh, can you repeat the last line, please, again?
The organizational transformation or the cultural transformation journey that you were talking about in your journey within Bosch, many of the organizational changes topic that you are involved in. Probably that is something which you should give small insight in this, because that experience. So that would make this 1.5 hour or 2 hour definitely worth recording.
Good question, Santosh. Organizational change is, or the change management is a very important topic. And I got the chance to handle 2 times such topics in my full-time career. This is very tough job. The first time when I got it was when I was in India, and I had to deal with challenges. I was much lower in my hierarchy, and I had to address a lot of topics which were 2 levels higher than my hierarchy and all that stuff. And here, the principle, what I learned in that whole thing is that we have to be very transparent, we have to be very clear, and we have to communicate even to the people who might get affected, even to the people who are safe, or even to the people who are likely to get elevated. So we have to have a very balanced posture in such handling such topics, because there is a high level of sensitivity in such change managements. The second time when I did it, it was in Japan. So it was having even further angle of the cultural differences and diversity. And here again, I applied the same principle in terms of change of the job. So if you are changing the responsibility of a person, which is a very, as you know, there are different levels of understanding for different people. I have also met some colleagues whom the transfer from location Shibuya to Yokohama, which is not even 25 minutes difference in terms of the travel time. People were reluctant to move. People were reluctant to take that change in their stride. So there can be a variety of, in terms of degree of difficulty. In India, that time we changed a lot of organizational layers and a lot of customer centricity we attempted. So first of all, we should be clearer in terms of how we are approaching it. We should not have a high-handedness in that at all, because if you have that kind of approach, then people will react to you. And the third thing which you should do if you are handling an organizational project, like I said in one of my conversations, that the ability to absorb. You might be very neutral, but if you are talking to a affected party, for them you are the villain. You are the person who has destroyed the comfort level, or you are the person who moved that person's cheese. So you have to absorb that, because you might be thinking that you attempted everything, because this all attempt what you have done is not visible to the person who got affected. Nevertheless, you should be very clear in conscious that you should be very fair, and you tried your best among the available situation to address that topic. And as I said, this is also a learning to ability to sustain the momentum or motivation for yourself in such a environment in which everybody sees you a villain. But you, since everybody is seeing you as a villain, you should not start thinking that you are a villain. So you stay calm with what you are doing with purpose. You stay calm with what has been assigned to you, and always think that this power is with you, but do not misuse this power, but at the same time see that the company objective is achieved, and that is what would make you successful. In the process, yes, you will make some people unhappy, but there should be as much attempt as possible to pacify them that this is not the personal vendetta, and this is not something which is being done to settle the score.
Thank you.
I hope I could gather some words, but this is a big topic and also very sensitive topic, Santosh.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hello.
And
Hello.
Yeah,
I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Ashish, this is Shanmugavel. While watching IPL, Kings 11 versus Sunrisers, I was just really only thinking about you. And today is our slot, and we need to say join this Zoom. Aji, congratulations for your quarter century at Bosch, and also a brilliant 30 not outs. Great going, Ashish. I always like your leadership quality, and I always like way you present in a meeting, rather you bringing in many things in our company too. I just wanted only one thing. Do you wanted to emphasize, elaborate anything more on leadership, present leadership, anything you like to brief in a short note? Is it leadership is a vacuum, or is it crisis, or it's going good, or how the young upcoming managers and leaders has to adjust to go beyond the success to achieve their dreams?
Yeah, Shanmugabel, as you know, that leadership comes with so many different elements. People say vision, people say collaboration, people say how to result orientation, collaboration, communication. There's several aspects in the leadership. What I always look in terms of leadership are the two angles. One is the situational leadership. The situational leadership is something which depends upon that situation in which you are in, where you have to take the decisions. If there is a fire in the whole building, you have to be very directional. You have to be very military-like, and we also have to adapt ourselves in terms of the collaborativeness of part of the leadership, the other assertiveness part of the leadership. So this is the one situational leadership which everybody is aware and they can do. The difficult part is the transactional leadership and the transformational leadership. The transactional leadership is, again, as I said, what I see in currently in most of the countries in Asia, particularly in India, that everybody is still. I will give you an example of a leadership. We have 360-degree assessment, which is also being used as an assessment tool. Many people have that. Many companies whom I have interacted with, they have in their curriculum. But how in reality we are using it in terms of the implementation, then the question mark starts. And therefore, we are tending ourselves towards the transformational leadership, but we are somewhere stuck between the transactional and the transformational thing. If you talk to any manager for their own assessment, they will say that I am really modern, I'm always look for out-of-box thinking, and I'm really moving as per the time. But their subordinates will give a very different answer. And that is the gap which all of us in India, all of us in our Indian management, that we should reduce the gap from the transactional to the transformational. Transformational leadership is something which is going to stay for the next century. And if the country has to grow, the people have to shed away the benefits of the transactional leadership, including the hierarchical benefits, and then only we can prosper. And in this entire journey, we should be very honest to ourselves that are we really going in the direction of transformational, or it is only remaining on a PowerPoint slide. So this is something which for me the leadership is, and we have to see who are the role models in the society. So seldom you will find, if you ask the people who have come into just graduated from the colleges or just in their high school, who are the role models? Invariably, the answers will come from some music star, some rock star, some film star, some politician, or whatever. Very seldom it comes as a role model, somebody who is from the family, somebody who is from our corporate, somebody who is from our nearby place. So there is a huge gap in creating such role models in each companies and each smaller circle of our family or environment. And this is what would happen if we shed away the people want to transform, but they do not want to shed away the benefits of the old world. And this is what we see as a sticking or the sticking point in today's management, what I see in India.
Ashish, thank you so much for your detailed briefing, the type of leadership, and also your 360 feedback. A very good message you gave. Thanks a lot, and wish you best wishes for your century. Best wishes.
Thank you so much. So maybe one last question or two last questions, because we have a limitation of time as well. I really appreciate that a lot of interest being taken. So I'm pretty happy from within.
Now as a question regarding to the previous question. At first, I want to thank you for your input today. It's already 7 years ago that I met you in person at my internship, and I learned at that time a lot from you. And it's still nice to hear from you. I like that you're experienced and that you're open-minded and are willing to share your experiments you made over the years. You were talking about the transactional and the transformational leadership. Would you say in general that transformational leadership is always something we should avoid, or for example, I think sometimes some people actually prefer to have a transactional leader that is more precise in their like decision making, rather than the transformational leader who's giving opportunities. Especially in Japan, as we were working there together, my feeling was that some worker over there rather had a transactional leader to precisely tell them what they want, or how did you perceive it?
Yeah, so Christopher, very good question, and this is exactly what I wanted to say, that there is a lot of situational aspect to the leadership. If the situation demands that for a particular task or project or particular assignment, too much of soft talking or too much of collaboration, too much of basically taking the people along may not work, then we have to switch the gears towards little bit of directional things. But what you are referring is a situational thing. For task orientation, for that particular task to be done, yes, it is to be assertive, it is more military-like, more direct, but not necessarily in the human behavior, not necessarily in the other aspect other than that task where it is not necessary. So we have to bring all the ingredients of this situational leadership, which is collaboration, assertiveness, also very strong. As if there is a fire, then we cannot request somebody, please wake up and put the water on the fire. Then you have to be directional. No, please get up and douse the fire. So these are the situational aspects which we have to do. The transactional and transformational leadership in a broader sense is moving into direction away from situation where the markets are changing, where the products are changing, the solutions are changing, where you have to take a lot of flexible, agile, and quick solutions. There, your hierarchy, if in a military can only work in a warlike situation. For a normal circumstances, if you have that command and control kind of for a very trivial task, we may not need that command and control. Their delegation can be the virtue. So therefore, if the markets are evolving, people have to take faster decisions. People have to take less stakeholders in the process, less decision makers or quick decisions. And even if some decisions goes wrong, the heavens are not collapsing. In such kind of environment, we have to delegate, we have to empower the people so that we can concentrate as the leaders on some other tasks. So this is what is meant when we, on a broader level. And the situational leadership is very, very important on the operational parameters for a project, or if you want to run a plant, you have to have the situational leadership. But how many plants you will have in next 3 years, how you see the futuristic orientation, visionary orientation, there you will need the more elements of transformational leadership. You can handle one plant with this kind of style, but tomorrow with Industry 4.0, you have to handle 50 plants in 13 different locations. You would need certain amount of delegation, certain amount of trust, relationship, and that is what is meant by the transformational leadership. So with the transactional leadership, you can drive a business successfully, but there is a geographical location limitation, or there can be some overall management limitation. But if you have to apply this for the wider perspective or the bigger perspective, the transformation is important. And that's why you will see the companies like Google, companies like Amazon, where the decision making, people don't wait for headquarters to reply. People take the decisions on the store level. People take the decisions on the next possible level. And even in such companies, IT companies, there are escalations level, but they prefer that the escalation levels are not utilized. This is exactly the point. When you have so many touch points, when you have larger context of the business, then you have to have stronger stubborn processes and also quicker decision making. But if you are stuck in between the two, then you are heading for a disaster.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So one question from my side.
Good evening.
Yeah. So one question from my side, Samir, this side. Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Samir.
30 years of corporate experience is something which is commendable and requires a lot of patience as well as skills. We can see many of your qualities in our day-to-day interactions and also get an opportunity to learn from your experience. My question to you is, sir, while moving and climbing this corporate ladder, especially in different countries, how did you manage to take all the people together to move towards the goal which you have set for yourself and the organization?
Yeah. So first thing and the foremost thing which is important is that you go to a new environment and you just don't start playing the shots yourself. You have to make yourself acceptable in the environment. And that is why in the first earlier foundation days for any job, people say first 100 days and all that. So I feel that the first 30, 35 days or first 1 month, 2 months, you make the people who are in your team feel that this outsider is not only to have the command and control, but this outsider has come here to be the part of the team. So this is what is I applied in Japan. This is what I applied in China, because there was a cultural shock when I went to Japan at that level. I had around a team of 60, 70 people. And as Christopher know, that most of them were Japanese. And it was very difficult for them to accept an Indian guy. They haven't, ours was a Japanese company, ours was a German company in Japan, and they haven't seen anybody other than the Japanese or the German nationality as their boss. And for an Indian to go at that level was a cultural shock. And if I have behaved in a normal way at which we drive our business in India, I would have been taking back my flight within a week or two. So the difference is you have to soak yourself, you have to absorb the atmosphere. And also, as I said, that don't become a Roman in Rome. I continue to absorb all the positive things, all the things which are absorbable, because my job there was change management. And my boss sitting in Singapore would have said that we have sent him to change the thing. And instead of changing, this Indian has become a Japanese. So that would have given a very bad impression. So you have to soak into that. You have to make them comfortable. You have to see that you are trusted. And then you start making subtle, small changes where the damage is not visible. And this is how you drive the change management projects. And apart from that change management projects, you also learn quite a few things. And this openness towards learning. And we go with a lot of if you are at a higher level, you always feel there's always a thought that if I'm a GM or I'm at a very top management, I know everything. This is what should not be there. For any new job, you start as a trainee, even if you are GM or VP or whatever, you start as a trainee, at least for first 30 days. You will capture so many things which will help you to drive that business, drive that profile in the future. So only one answer in the new job, you forget about the designation, start as a trainee in that department. Whether you are GM, SGM, VP, you just, that may be a tokenism for your profile. Start as a trainee as if you are starting from day one in that department. Forget about all your experience and whatever you have.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, then. So I hope that I could able to answer all the questions. Thanks a lot. It was an absolute pleasure having all of you, and my thanks to everyone who joined on Zoom, as well as a lot of people on Facebook. It is an absolute pleasure for me to have this conversation. And once again, my in-depth thanks to Umesh for conducting this interview in such a structured manner, which helped me to communicate all the topics which I had. Thank you so much and have a nice day. And thank you so much again for this live interaction. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you.